Yeah, a lot of times I don't realize I'm not starting at. But anyway, the one thing I didn't put on that assignment sheet is that if you think that a part of what you're looking at in your section doesn't belong anymore, you should definitely mention that it may not be appropriate to be still on the website. And so we certainly have some things like that. And so not just checking for links and errors in content, but also whether it's an appropriate page to have at all. And if you find that you would rather do another section rather than the one that's assigned, well, please let me know and we can change it.
Can you put that up, please? That the assignments, or I'll look at it. There was something funny about it.
I can pull it up. What do you think, Lynn?
Well, you have John assigned. John West, do you mean? For the office menu.
Yeah.
There. Well, I ran into John yesterday and I asked him if he was still on the committee.
What did he say?
He said, yes, he was, but that he had a lot of schedule conflicts or something. And
2 years worth?
Well, enough said. But I think probably someone else should get that menu. I suggest that.
Okay, I can add that to someone else's.
Don't give me.
Well, it's actually one of the shortest ones and one that has probably less issues because most of it is the straightforward request to the office.
But I'm sorry, one thing that's going to come up is this forms menu.
Yes.
The forms section.
Right.
Which will require some.
Right. And I just added that since our last meeting.
But I mean, just to make sure that those things are quite current because they often do change.
Right.
And then you have Tom on the activities menu.
Well, I added that to my schedule as well.
Because you didn't have enough to do.
Well, I'm not sure how much Tom devotes to it, so I thought I better do that.
Okay.
Actually, John West responded to the vote we took on the cables, which is the first time he's had much activity as far as the committee goes in quite some time. So I was pleased to see that. Let me pull up the agenda. The minutes of the previous meeting, Jane sent out, and I can pull those up real quick. And is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, they'll stand approved as sent. One quick thing, I did ask John to give me some information about checking with Spectrum on the TV channel, and he hasn't gotten back to me with a contact yet. And so I'm hoping that it will happen sometime soon. I know they've been pretty busy in the office with all this resealing stuff. So, and with a big board meeting coming up on Monday, I'm sure he's pretty busy. We have had two purchases since the last, well, we did approve the microphone purchases at the last meeting. We completed that, those purchases. Andrew had given me the two microphones. We've used those in the office, and he went ahead and purchased a smaller microphone for himself that I don't remember what the cost was, Andrew. It was pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and of course, because we are, well, the IT committee, first of all, here's the little guy that finally came. You can see it's got a much smaller profile than the bigger professional units that the association now owns. And I find this to be just perfect for my needs. And these are all called, just so, and I'm only saying this because we are the IT committee. These are internet speakerphones. They're not necessarily microphones. I don't mind calling them microphones because they do have microphone. As a matter of fact, one of their very best features is that they in fact have 5 microphones, which is why people who listen to our meetings when you use this unit are pleasantly surprised that they can hear pretty well. But it's a regular it's an internet speakerphone. It's essentially the next generation of, if you remember the speakerphones in the middle of the table with the wires coming out to the little remote speakers. It's the exact same thing, except Bluetooth enabled internet speakerphone. So I just thought I'd point that out. No biggie. We know what we're talking about, and that's exactly right. I think it was great for the association. It was synchronicity. The timing was synchronicity. I was using both of these units at my previous community. It makes much more sense for the association to be using them. And so thank you for the opportunity to do that. I appreciate it very, very much.
Roger, my apologies. I didn't see your text until almost meeting time. But it looks like you made it back home.
Yep, I did. I texted and then I thought, well, the sign says both, so I'll go to the office.
So we're discussing the purchases that we made with the microphones. I know, Lynn, you mentioned that you had trouble with some of the hearing at one of the meetings that we used the microphone. We turned the volume up the last time, and Roger was on the Zoom call and mentioned that he heard individuals fine, but that when, as we often have happened at board workshops and board meetings, multiple people are trying to talk at the same time, then the experience wasn't so good. Is that accurate, Roger?
Yes, it was more garbled. You really couldn't understand who was saying what when more than one person was trying to talk.
And as I suggested, we were going to have to remind the board to try to continue, or to try to speak only one person at a time. And it's kind of like herding cats. So
I noticed, Chris, the minute you said that, some 2 personal conversations broke out at that second. So good luck with that. But
Well-
I would like to suggest that somebody take the responsibility to view those recordings and not so much listen live, but view the recordings, which I think give you a better idea of the whole dynamic of the room. And think about placement. There's some people who have very faint voices. The woman who spoke about the budget, apparently from the committee, there was one of the table on the left side of the screen, the table that was perpendicular to the front table. Anyway, I don't know her name. Her voice is very, very faint. And like John needs no microphone, ever. You know, that's a guy with a built-in mic. And I think we should put them farther away from John. I don't know where they were here, but anyway, those kinds of considerations, if somebody would kind of listen to a couple of video recordings of the final product and then think about placement.
Hey, Chris, I think each of the units can be placed down the side, each side table. There was one that was in the front table, and to Lynn's point, I think if each unit was on, the two tables that extend to the back of the room, that would be the very best that we could do. Combined with continual reminders to board members to please speak up. They have a responsibility to speak up. They can't be low talking into these meetings. We have a virtual audience, and so it's a shared responsibility.
I think John West is hard to hear. His voice is a little softer than many, and I actually had the one microphone placed in front of him this last time. But you're absolutely right. We have people that just are not as loud as others, and so we need to emphasize to them at the beginning of a meeting that it's important that they speak up. The other purchase were the two cables for the church to be able to work the appropriate connections at the Kirkwood Church, which is where our next board meeting is going to be this coming Monday. And it actually kind of merges into the next item of setup for the church. The Roger and Andrew and I have gone to the church once all together, and then once again Roger and I were there, and Andrew zoomed in to test the equipment. We were able to connect one of the new cables to the soundboards at the church, and after some adjustments to the settings, Andrew confirmed that it was a very good audio signal. And so we think that is a good solution for the Zoom people, that they're probably going to have almost a better audio sound than the people in the room. The room has some echo. There's no doubt about it. And so it looks like we've got a good signal there. The other cable that we bought, which was designed to connect from my computer to a TV and show the room, the people on Zoom, didn't work. Brand new, right out of the box. And I'm going to test it again before I send it back, but I don't have much faith that it's going to work. So we did have some other cables which we had used to connect to the projector, which were HDMI cables, and we put about 3 of those together, and that worked. So we were able to project from my computer onto the TV screen. So it'll be a matter of placing things. When we, Roger and I planned on being there again Monday morning before the meeting to see if we can get everything set up properly.
And Chris, I'm going to hang back and attend the meeting from here. I just think that's a good idea, so I can be on the call earlier to help you do a final test.
Yep.
And you know, remember your final placement of your television monitor and even your microphones around the table setup. If you do a horseshoe or whatever it is. This is the very first time we're doing the meeting in the venue that Roger has so terrifically supplied for us the opportunity. And once, for example, once you do get the right longer cable, there's a chance you'll be placing the television monitor in a little bit of a different place compared to where you might place it this coming Monday, is one example. And the other comment I would make is back to Lynn's comment about people talking over each other or simultaneously. We may actually have a bit of an advantage in the church as we remind meeting participants that when you speak, would you please speak into one of the microphones. You know, I'm not familiar, you know, with, I guess Roger you'll have the other complement of remote mics or lavalier mics, or will it all just be handheld? But my point is, people will get into after we do a few meetings, people will get into the habit. Oh yeah, when I speak, I need to speak into the mic instead of the random back and forth that the dynamic of the small meeting room in the office lends itself to that back and forth a little bit more naturally, right? Because everyone is like crowded in, and it's sort of like, well, let's talk. But I think it'll be advantageous in the church. I don't think we'll have quite as much of an issue with that.
And Andrew, I can tell you that, you know, all of the meetings up to this point, we've only had 4 microphones available. We're going to have 9 microphones available this time, 4 of the wireless ones and 5 actually plugged in. So we'll be able to have more microphones on the tables closer to the people, so they won't have to pass them 4, 5, 6.
That's terrific. That's awesome.
Yeah, that should help.
It's going to be a nice upgrade.
We'll find out what clever ways the board has to do a workaround to our best.
To circumvent the planning.
Undermine us?
Andrew, you need to go back and look at the history of these meetings.
No, I don't know. That's the whole thing. I'm brand new. I just want to keep looking forward. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
We've got to start out by reminding people that they need to hold the microphone close. Oh, yeah. And that they all need to do a microphone, period.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think this is a little awkward, but what's the name of the guy who's the president of the board?
Steve Abul.
Steve is one of the worst offenders, and he has a way of talking under his breath, also making.
Okay.
You know, and I mean, I wonder if one person could approach Steve just before the meeting and sort of give him a pep talk about, because he's the guy that does a lot of chatting with other people, sort of, you know, off script, and he's the guy whose voice is not modulated for the audience. So he needs work. I'm just saying a general announcement might not.
Well, yeah, we'll help him.
Get to him.
I would suggest the vice chairman do that.
I can do that, and I do. I have in the past tried to remind him, and was sitting alongside of him lots of times. I'll hit him with my elbow and say, pick up the mic. So I will continue to harass him.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. The next item on the agenda is the website review, which we discussed a little bit before you joined us, Roger, with the committee assignments. And the assignments are pretty similar to the last assignments we had, which was actually in January of this year. So again, I wanted to remind people that it's good to check the links and make sure the links are working, and to take a look at, you know, sort of grammar and errors in the text. But we also need to take a look and see if the page is actually a good page to have on the website anymore. And so we have a larger assignment than what we maybe had first given people to take a look at. And so it's not something that has to be done in you know, any kind of time fashion. It's sort of an ongoing process. But I know in the past, people who have taken a look at their sections have sent me some very good corrections, and we've tried to implement those as soon as we could. Go ahead, Lynn.
I asked you if I could be on the agenda to talk about the residence menu.
Yes.
And is this a good place to do it?
Absolutely.
Okay. I reviewed the tape of last meeting, and there was a significant discussion about how those documents came to be on the residence menu. And I'm responsible for the whole section, so I want to make a couple comments. One is that, let's see, except for I'm looking at the contents of the residence menu. Calendar and announcements, I don't do. Other people do that. Resident directory, I think Catherine is responsible for that.
Yeah.
But I think everything below that, pest spraying, waste and recycling, cable TV, security, maintenance fees, owner responsibilities, pool rules. And everything you see that is, you know, looks like a Word document, excuse me, I wrote. And none of it came from the board. The board does not have a role in this. I wrote these things based on our documents, our FAQ, things that happened in meetings. So none of it comes from, that's where the board is involved. When the board makes its decisions about things, that's where I take my material from. Everything I write is reviewed and approved by John, nobody else. And, you know, he's like the history of this association. He knows everything, you know. He's been to all the meetings, he's been involved in the writing of the documents, the amendments, and so on. So I just want to clear that up. The board's not involved, and there's no need for the board. And then there was a conversation about dates. And it was very interesting, you know, what the government does and so on. But I thought about this, and I realized that is an error on my part to have been inconsistent about dating documents. But when I thought further about it, I came to the conclusion that we should post these things without dates. That the language of the date, when we say update, it's confusing to people. You know, and it's unnecessary. If you look at the websites of other organizations, nonprofits, businesses, nobody's got a date on each page. And so my proposal is to not have dates at all, and to just post it like if it's on the website, it's current. So I would like to ask the committee to approve of that. It's just to change this, by the way, would require that I go back and find the original Word document. Could you put up go back to water detectors, for example, or whatever you want of this list?
Yeah.
Okay. I would have to go back and find the original, or the latest version of that Word document, remove that date, convert the Word to a PDF, send it to Chris, and he'd have to post it. So that's, you know, a half hour's worth of labor. And as I've said, my view is that the date is irrelevant. I mean, if it's there on the website, as you assume with every other organization, it's current.
Well,
So-
Lynn, if you wanted to, for example, this water leak detectors, if you just wanted to remove the date and keep all the text, you could simply ask me to do that, and I can remove the date in Acrobat, and that might be cleaner than you having to resend it.
Oh, okay. I didn't think you could do anything because these are PDFs that get posted, right?
Yeah, no, I can take a document like this into Acrobat and just remove that date.
Okay. Well, again, that's labor on your part, but and you don't have anything to do, as we've discussed.
Well, it's just as easy as you sending me a new document and I have to repost it. So it's not a big
Okay.
deal.
So it
What does
doesn't.
the rest of the committee think about removing the date?
I think we should just make a decision and be consistent across the board. It's the fact that some are updated, some, you know, the last date was 1997, or whether it was yesterday. As long as it's consistent and we know that the assumption is that if it's on the website, it is current, then it's fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well. I think that's a better idea, because people, if they see an older date, then they start questioning, is this really the right one?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
it's no date and we advertise that, you know, if it's out there, it means it's current. I think that's a good suggestion.
I'm too new in the committee to really offer up an opinion right now. I need to learn more about. I haven't. Does Wildwood Springs have a rules and documents committee?
No,
Okay. All right.
we've tried to
Um,
suggest a few things in the past, but it's not a
No,
good. Yeah.
sure.
One
That's
of the things that bugs me is that almost everything coming out of the office is all caps.
yeah.
It's all- what?
As I say, I need to just hold my water here for a while, because I'm new, and I you know, I can tell you that the one client that I do have where I am for reformatting and standardizing a 165-page owner's manual for a 1,600 unit co-op out in suburban Washington. The one thing that they do put dates on are board policies. And because board policies are sort of one level up from rules and regulations, these are statements that the board has had a discussion on and has executed a motion and a vote. But Wildwood Springs is not, it doesn't have as many moving parts. And like I say, I need to sit back and keep learning about. I guess my baseline comment is it's interesting for me to listen to the commentary about content, right? About rules and that they come, directly from John, and he is the man. There's no doubt about it, as far as his history here and his knowledge. It's second to none. So I'm going to keep learning, but I'm having a little bit of disconnect from the standpoint of the IT committee, making those kinds of decisions about content. It's just a little foreign to me, but it's, we don't have as many committees here, and this is why I need to sit back and keep learning about how things are done here, and I accept that, and I'm certainly not into making more work for anybody. So,
well, I think the consensus is that we would eliminate the dates at this point. And,
sure, yeah, absolutely.
I would agree with that. So,
yep.
We'll go ahead and do that.
Excuse me, sorry. I just want to add a couple of things to my discussion of this menu. If anyone, I'm sorry, Catherine's not here because she initiated this process of, according to Jane's minutes, of giving you changes, Chris. And then you execute them. Well, that leaves me out of the loop. So when I go to update, and what I do is about every 6 months, I go through every document. I send the ones that the office mainly deals with, like is the pest control calendar correct? I go back to the county website to make sure the recycling information is correct, and so on. And I send them around to whoever is the source of that information. And then I go and sit with John. I send him 4 or 5 documents at once. I book a time with him for a half hour, and we review word for word. He reads it, I read it. He'll say, change this word, or I'll say, what about this? He'll say, that's okay. But the point is that if that I'm the one that should be doing the correcting and sending it to Chris, because if you send it straight to Chris, then I don't have the most recent version of that document to work from when I do the review. Does everybody get that? So now I need to know from Chris what things you changed. Now, if you just removed stuff like the discussion of the sewer pipes being replaced, because we're finished with that. The upstairs, downstairs business. Then that's fine if you just take a document away. But if you make internal changes, as I now find out you can do with Acrobat, then I'm in trouble when I go to the review.
Well, I would agree that I think that Catherine wasn't able to be here today. She had another appointment. But I think she sort of took on something that really wasn't entirely things that we really needed to discuss a little more before she started doing it. She just kind of fell in love with the new Acrobat toy and kept playing around with documents. And I'm not sure that was appropriate. So we can kind of I think, throttle her back on that and ask her to hold off on doing that in the future until we can come up with a better idea of how to do. I mean, I think there's some benefits to having a document that can be filled in online, but I think we should hold off on doing that to all of our documents before we have the right person like Lynn in charge of areas that has some of those documents in them. So I can definitely speak to her about that, and she hasn't been doing it for some time now. So so we should be able to, I think, have that issue behind it. One of the other things that Lynn brought up was the About menu. And I think it's a good point to make that we have sort of a need to take a real serious look at the About menu. If you look at it, it has a lot of things on it. The photo tour, the association documents, some of the things, because it's the menu that is open to the public. So everything on this menu is visible by anyone. Anyone with an internet account can take a look at anything on here. So I think it seems like one of the things you were particularly concerned with, Lynn, was the association documents, which seems to have a lot of things on it that might not be appropriate. And so I believe your suggestion, Lynn, was that we take a look at this over the next month or so and come back with some suggestions as how we might revise it. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I was particularly concerned about the association documents submenu, because very little of this is association documents. And if people are looking for that stuff, those things that at the very least should be isolated on this page. But it just is a page, even if there are two issues. One, does everything belong on this page? And second, it badly needs to be reorganized. And so my thought was that, and it takes some thinking to reorganize it. It's a mess right now. Things just kind of randomly got added as time went on. So I just suggest that we all have a look at this and next meeting make suggestions about what to do with it. It's like the kitchen drawer that has all the stuff in it, you know.
Junk drawer.
Yes. We should just rename this junk drawer. Okay.
Well, one of the things that I couldn't figure out why I put the pickleball letter on there, but I can tell you that I figured out why that happened, and it is because John started sending out a PDF with all the documents for a meeting, including letters, including basically everything. The financials, the manager's report, the agenda, the minutes, all in one PDF. And I know why it's happened. It's because he gives a hard copy to Cynthia, and then she puts it in the copier and makes it into a PDF, which is not what I want, because it takes me a lot of time to separate those all out because they need to be put into separate areas on the website. So I've asked him to send me the digital versions of those documents. And he usually, in the past when he's done that, he doesn't send me the letters that might come in some things are required to be put on the website.
Right.
For example, contracts, bids, and things like that. And letters are sort of in a gray area. I'm not sure if I go back to when the changes were made in 2018, if the letters are required to be put on the website, but I'm not sure of that. But anyway,
This is
I
the
think,
first one I've ever seen.
yeah. And again, I think it's because it came as a group, and if I did, what I probably should have done was put those on the private side of the association documents or something, or under board doc, just in a different place,
Yeah.
rather than on the about menu. So let's do this. Just everybody sort of take some valuable time to sort of review the menu and come back with some suggestions next one.
Now, what about our own personal assignments?
Yeah.
We discussed, changes directly to Chris or go via Lynn. Have we decided what exactly we are supposed to do if I come up with some change in something that's under my scrutiny?
Well, in general, Lynn's responsible for the residence menu, and so I think if you have any changes to that menu, you want to talk to Lynn first. But
Okay.
other changes in your responsibilities should come to me.
Okay.
And in the past, again, I know Roger sent me suggestions, and you have, Jane, and I usually try to implement them right away.
Yeah, the odd broken link or something of that nature that isn't working, but
And they happen. There's no doubt about it.
I'll look.
Okay. And again, I don't expect all this to happen, in a very quick time frame. It really takes some time to go over these areas, so whenever you get a chance, that's going to be fine. I sent out an email of an email that I got from the website company, which quite honestly is rare. I don't remember having any communication with the website company since we made the changeover in 2018. So I was kind of shocked to get this email. I forwarded it on to you folks, and let me see if I can pull it up here. This is HOA Sites, which is the company we're using, and the email stated that we would have an opportunity to redesign our website. They were pretty clear about the fact that it's not going to change any content. It's just basically changing what the look is like. And so they had, a large choice between sort of what they call their standard designs and their premium designs. And if you took a look at some of those choices, it seems to me that the premium designs are going to be a better fit for our website. We currently have a premium design, and the biggest thing is that you can have more photos involved in a premium design than you could in a standard design. And so I don't know whether we need to. I don't know whether we want to redesign. I guess that's kind of up to the committee. But it is an opportunity. It looks like it's not going to be real costly to do it. And it, so I guess I would recommend that people take a look at some of those choices and see if any of them might be applicable to our situation. I guess one of the things I might ask the company is how long would this offer be available? And because if we want to wait, you know, to do it, I would probably want to do that. Because one of the things I think we've talked about recently is that we need some different photos. And that until we, he pointed out in the email that you don't have to have that stuff. You can add that stuff after the redesign. But I would sort of base some of our decisions on a redesign on what kind of new photos we might have. Because I think a lot of the redesign is based around photos and how you would display those. And another thing to take into consideration is that we have a top menu right now. And some of the premium designs have side menus. And so I guess the question would be, do we want to change from a top menu to a side menu? You know, again, how much do we want to change? But I do think there's some things about some of the designs that might be interesting to change. So I would hope that you could take a look at those designs and just we'll get some feedback and take a look at it in the future. Andrew, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. A couple of points I'd like to make is that website review and website redesign are two different things. Website review is, to me, more around our current content, the accuracy of the current content, and to a certain degree, its placement, its proper placement inside a cascading menu. Website redesign is a process that's done from to use an analogy, a higher altitude. And it involves the user experience kind of from start to finish. So, and it gets interesting when you combine website review and website redesign, which is sort of, you know, when you execute a website redesign, by definition, you execute a content review. And if we move down the path of investigating a redesign, it does provide the advantage, you know, is it more work? Of course it is, but it does provide the advantage of engaging the community and getting a fresh read, a fresh, you know, barometer of owner usage of the website. So I would, if we ever go down the redesign path, which, you know, websites get redesigned all the time. It's not some super special event necessarily, but it is an opportunity to engage the ownership. And I think at least one questionnaire and maybe even a town hall sometime in season about the specific topic of the website. If we do those two things, then we have demonstrated that we have reached out to engage the community, get their feedback, and then proceed. To execute a website redesign without doing some of that community engagement up front, I believe is a mistake, because you leave yourself open to, you know, 8 months down the road, hey, how come, you know, well, and so the rest is history. So I just wanted to make those two points. I think a redesign is always a healthy exercise, but not one to be done super quickly, and communicating kind of early and often to our owner cohort is a great thing to do. And if the website redesign can have the effect of lowering the workload of Cynthia and John, because we teach owners down the road the upgrades that the redesign provides, shoddy attendance to our website, our recent website orientation classes notwithstanding, then that's an added value to the association to you know, remove some, and it's a task, right? We're dealing with a group of folks who are not, they're not clamoring to get everything done on the website. They're more likely to send emails or pick up the phone or even go to the office and get stuff done. And that has to be acknowledged. That's not something to brush away or to, it has to be acknowledged and accommodated. And it's just it's a fact of, now as time goes on, where I'm going with this is, as time goes on, this community and every other condo community, HOA and co-op is going to continue to adjust and evolve, and the website will become more and more of the way things are done in the association. That train is on its way here. There's no stopping it. So it doesn't mean we have to jump all over this right now, but I think to address it in a measured way is a nice opportunity, and I'm glad that they pinged you, Chris, and I don't really have any specific action items right now. I'd rather, again, sit back, and because I'm new enough to really start to get to know the website a little bit more, and I, you know, the reason I speak of, my wife and I were talking about, you know, my wife and I are 35 years in advertising and public relations agencies, writing content, designing websites, communicating to audiences, creating programs. This is our background. And yet, I don't want to lean heavily on that, except to let you guys know. And I'm keeping my ear to the ground with the Community Association Institute. I'm a member of the West Florida chapter, and I've got the M100 certification in community association management. And I'm going to keep on going up the ladder and learning more and trying to understand this trend of how the website is used by the front office and the owners to get things done. And I'm making a study of it, and I'll just leave it at that. So I think it's a great idea to look at the redesign, but baby steps, and that's my intention, is to take some baby steps. And I'll probably reach out to a couple of you just one-on-one here in the future to learn more about the website and about the history of Wildwood Springs, the ownership, and the use of the website, and things of that nature. So thank you for listening to me about this topic.
Well, one of the things that I think is important to understand is that the redesign that is being offered by the website company is just pretty much cosmetic.
Hmm,
That
got it.
they're that we don't have to do hardly anything as far as that goes.
Hmm.
But what perhaps as more important is for us, as we're taking a look at the content, is that do we have stuff in the right place? Do we have the right menus? Do we have is it accessible to the people that are using it? And so I think that although I think exploring a redesign is something we should consider at least down the road, and asking our users about that is actually a very good suggestion. I would sort of recommend that we might want to come back with 3 or 4 of their premium designs, and then make those some sort of a poll that we could put on the website where people could take a look at those 3 or 4 designs and do some choosing. But I would say that our first mission is a little more about content and how we have it organized, and how we should maybe make some changes to that.
Your message is received loud and clear by me, certainly. You've given me a really good swim lane to stay in, and I understand and agree with it. Just looking at the bicycle we've already got and making sure everything is where it should be, and strong, and then look at something down the road. But especially with your description of what the company is offering, we don't want to serve them up something that's hanging over the plate and has things that are wrong. To your point, we want to make sure whatever it is we have right now is as orderly and logical as possible, and then say, all right, guys, Mr. Website Company, you got here's the file. Give it a shot and let us react. And at least we know we'll be reacting to something that we've already put the work in to ensure that it's tight and proper and logical. So we won't be doing a bunch of more, other work on the back end of their upgrade. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lynn.
I did not spend much time looking at the email and their email, I should say. But one thing that we need to keep in mind that we learned with the last, when we went from one vendor to the other, that the word, it looks to me like the word cosmetic is the key word here.
Mm-hmm.
And that we didn't really look under the hood enough.
Mm-hmm.
So what we got was a front page design, an overall sort of frame in which to put the website. And there were many significant changes that were very valuable, but it looks to me, and when I hear Chris talk about the kind of cumbersome effort it takes to make a change or to post something in the first place, and you look at the clunky, graphics like for the residence menu, you could tear your hair out trying to use that menu. It's like the year 2000 software.
Yeah.
With makeup on, it's just, so I would say that we want to make sure if we go to any of these premium designs that we're really getting the added flexibility, ability, and so on that we're hoping for. And well, that's my point.
Yeah, I'm afraid that the way they worded that email was that the changes inside are probably not going to there's probably not going to be changes inside. That the changes would be pretty much, you know, the way the homepage looks, and then there are, as we have now, there are photos at the top of almost every page, I believe, and that those things might change in the way they look. But as far as I will say this, that they have made some minor changes to the functionality of me entering content. And so it's a little less clunky than it was. But you're absolutely right. It's old software. There's no doubt about that. And I'm finding it a little bit easier to do some of the things that make it look a little better. And so but I don't think any of that's going to change if we do a redesign. So I think that the main part of the redesign is going to be simply how the menus look, how the homepage looks, and you know, how photos may be displayed on the homepage and things like that.
Yeah, and I love your comment, Lynn. I mean, part of engaging the community is walking into John and Cynthia's office and saying, John, Cynthia, what tasks, what owner engagement situations would you envisage would be beneficial to you guys in your workflow if owners could self-serve themselves off the website instead of phoning you up or coming into the office? Just a straight out question, and let them marinate on that for a while. So
Yeah,
you know.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Well, you would be surprised at the answer that I presume you would get. Some time ago, Roger made the comment that the model that John operates on is that he fixes stuff. And he, you know, you call the office and you say, the heat in pool 4, the lap pool, is not high enough. Well, you know, there's a whole bunch of lap swimmers who don't want it raised up to 85 or 20 degrees Celsius. But he doesn't care to learn, you know, what else is going on and what the lap swimmers want. He just cares to satisfy the person on the other end of the phone. So, you know, the heater got turned up. And then when you say, John, it's too hot, you know, it's not good. They'll say, well, I got calls, you know. So it's like a model he prefers, I think, to go to my bottom line. Andrew, it's a model he prefers, that's been his MO as a manager all these years, and a very good one as far as I'm concerned. But I can't imagine the answer to that question. And the other part of it, the other part of the problem is that we actually have apparently a substantial number of residents who do not know how to use their iPad for anything besides playing solitaire, or, you know.
I do know this. I do know this. Yeah.
Okay. That you may tell me that browsers have been around for 30 years. And we all learned to use browsers in 1995 or whenever they came out. But there's a whole bunch of people who have no need or interest in doing that. So you have to keep dialing back to the simplest possible model to work with. And that is pick up the phone, call the office.
And in this dialogue, I grant you that, but every so often in a dialogue like this, you also have to dial forward 5 years, 10 years from now, and then keep a balanced dialogue going I know we're not doing any major changes to this website in the foreseeable future. I get it. I get it. I get it. But again, everything that I see off of this property, I see where it's going, and so I'm just bringing some of that to sort of try and balance the discussion. We're the IT committee. We can have discussion like this, but I appreciate what you're saying, Lynn.
I
I
appreciate what
get
you're
it.
saying. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I believe happened in the spring is I brought to the attention of John, and at that time I think it was probably Maggie, that the work order application on the website would track the work orders, that they could keep track of them rather than writing them down in some sort of a book. And so I think they both have embraced that to a large extent. And so John, in his manager's reports, are now, telling us how many work orders they get every month. And
That's a big win. That's a big win.
And some of those work orders, I'm sure, are not generated off the website. Some of those are calls, are phone calls that they then put into a work order on the website. But I do think that has been an improvement in the way they handle things, and I think that they're very happy with that tracking ability. And so I think, again, the best thing for us to do is try to encourage more people to use the website work order or the website request a problem, report a problem, and it's a nice function. It works. It responds to you after you put it in. You can track it. It's a really, I think, a valuable feature of the website, and I'm sure that the office appreciates it too. So, in general, let's sort of finish this up with saying that at this point, we're going to take a look at possible premium designs, but put off any kind of change or redesign change into the future. And I can, again, communicate with the website company and ask them how long this might be available. We only have a couple of other things here, and that would be, I have sort of promised to have computer website classes in January. I think I put that in the newsletter. I haven't looked at dates yet. I know I'm going to be gone for a little bit in the middle of the month, but other than that, I think in the past we've had, like, Thursday afternoon has been a good time to do some of these things. And the only thing I would like to ask is that once we do schedule them, if we have some committee members that can assist, it's very valuable. If we have even 3 or 4 people in the room, having the ability to do some one-on-one help with those people is then a very important aspect of these classes. And so I think we'll try to do as much advertising ahead of time as we can, putting stuff on the bulletin boards, sending out some emails. Although, again, sending out emails for a class on computers isn't always useful. But sometimes it's, it's somebody that says, well, I know my mom needs help, So we'll try to do as much advertising as we can to generate some interest in the classes. We'll probably do the same thing we've done before, 2 one-hour classes. usually not on the same day. The first one, basic computer skills, you know, how to use your computer, do you know what a browser is? And you know, again, we have a lot of people out there that pretty much, they're not necessarily restricted to just games. They do use it for email. I think more and more people are doing that. But that may be about it. And so, actually, internet use is probably less important to some of those people, but there's a desire. I mean, I know the people we've had in the class have wanted to learn more and wanted to have more functionality. And so, I think we want to offer that. And then the second class is more based on our website and how to use the website, what the various areas are of the website that they might not be familiar with. And so both classes have been lightly attended, but well received. So we will be putting some dates together for January. And again, if any of you can help out on those dates, it'd be really appreciated. Anything else for the good of the cause? If not, the question. Yes, I'm sorry.
I have one more quick thing. Is it the case that this Monday's board meeting is the approval of the budget?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
Roger probably can address that better than I can.
Yes,
Roger.
the answer is yes.
Thank you. I have not paid a lot of attention to this, but when I was looking at the board workshop video in order to think about the microphone business, the new mics, it occurred to me that we should plan to write something for the announcements section, some very visible section on the website, because some of the changes are apparently quite earth-shattering, quite major. And, you know, all this in the interest of paying an insurance bill. But I think that needs to get explained to people who won't go to that meeting or won't look at the video. The highlight, you know, the takeaways from it. And the other reason is that I just got a whiff of some unethical behavior, let's say. I believe it was Steve who suggested that, Steve, our president, suggested that we not publicize the fact that we were removing all the security cameras. And I just took offense at that. And I think that, you know, our association, if decisions are being made on their behalf that are big decisions, they need to know. So I just propose that someone take upon themselves the responsibility to summarize the big points of changes in the budget and why they're justified or why they're necessary.
Yeah, I can post an announcement to that effect. It was pointed out at that workshop that the fact that they didn't want to tell people that the security cameras were coming down was being recorded. So if somebody wants to watch the recording, they would know that the security cameras are coming down. But I mean, I understand what the point is, that you want to sort of continue with the illusion that you might have security cameras. And so
I know, but your audience for that illusion is the burglars.
I'm sorry, your voice stopped there.
You know, I used to, when I bought my, pardon? Excuse me?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Try again.
Oh. Huh, it says my internet connection is unstable. Okay. Am I okay now? No.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're better now.
Okay. My point was that the audience is the burglars. It's not the owners. The people who need to not to be held back from knowing that the cameras don't work is the burglars. And I'm all in favor of that. You know, we should still have signs up, which was my thought when we first bought those cameras for that exorbitant amount of money. We just need to buy signs. I had a sign outside my unit that came with it that said protected by ADT. Well, I tore all that stuff out, but I had the sign.
Right.
So I'm in favor of that strategy, but
Yeah,
not.
you can actually buy those signs and put them in your yard.
Yeah, I know. In fact, I have one to give away if somebody, after 20 years, I thought, I'm sick of this sign. Anybody wants it, add on the website.
I think we want to be careful with the words that we put in those announcements. I don't think you want to say the cameras are being taken down, because the cameras are going to stay on the poles. The cameras are being disconnected.
Okay. He said something about sending back all the equipment. So
Yeah, the data equipment that belongs to
I see.
Spectrum.
Okay, well, I'm all in favor of the cameras, yeah.
The cameras will remain on the poles, the signs will remain up, so that it appears that we have a camera system. But the guts, or the data points, the data equipment that captures and forwards that information back to wherever it goes, to Jim Munson, actually. All of those, that's the equipment that's going to be removed from the boxes that nobody knows is there anyway. You know, there's boxes down underneath the cameras where all of that equipment is stored, and those boxes are going to be empty, but the boxes are going to stay there too.
Okay.
So I agree that the owners really should know. I don't think we should try to keep it a secret. I think we should let them know that they're being removed, they're being disconnected because they're malfunctioning and we're paying for something that we're not getting.
Right.
And I think the board wants to look at putting them back next year. It's just right now to save a year's worth of fees, because we're paying Spectrum for all these connections that we can't use.
Okay.
And I agree with you. The explanation, I think, is important as to why.
Okay.
The other piece of the insurance puzzle. You all right, Judy? Hang on a minute.
Well, the question, our last item was whether or not to have a meeting the last Friday of December. I know in the past we have often not had that meeting, and we've sometimes had 2 meetings in January, so that would be an option. But the question is, do you want to meet on the 29th of December?
I'd like a little extra time to our web review assignments. So I don't mind missing a December meeting.
Other thoughts?
I would prefer to do it the way we've done it before, to push it off to the beginning of January and then see if we need another January.
Yeah, that's what we've done before. We've done the first Friday in January and then the last Friday in January. So
That works for me.
Does that work?
Yep.
Jane, you okay with that?
Yep.
All right. I don't know what that date is for the first Friday, but
January 5
Okay, we'll put that in. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move, we
Second.
adjourn.
Second.
All right. I appreciate everybody's time this morning, and I thought it was a productive meeting.
So do I. I thank you, everyone, for your patience.